with going back into the Lamborghini. I need to save that. I can just set my start frame back there. All right. So this is pretty much where I'm at right now. I did add a bit of like color, a hint of color into the smoke. And then I added the cooling, or like someone had asked this question. Let's see, I think it was like last weekend, about adding density kind of dissipation or fading out basically. So I did do that just with this gas linear combination, set up similarly to how the cooling rate works for temperature. But basically you're just multiplying the density. This coefficient just means multiply. So it's saying take the density, multiply it by 30% of itself, and then copy it back into the original density field. So these use OpenCL, the gas linear combination. I figured that that was a bit of a better way to deal with some of these composition things. Like certain areas were sticking around in the frame too long, and just obscuring too much of what was going on. So I figured that that was a bit more dynamic or interesting or whatever over time. Yeah, and then I was just going through today before the stream and adding the rotation back to the tires. They should be the rear tires. I guess I still need to add them to the front tires as well. But yeah, I've been doing some of that tedious stuff, the tail lights as well. Could go through and do that right now, I guess. It's a good time to do it. So I'd moved the point light refs, or these area lights, kind of very close to where the mesh lights are. So if we look at the actual mesh lights, I'm gonna have to update the shape of those. But let me just put the whole vehicle back together. All right. So I might need to actually move these forward a little bit. But yeah, so I had these grid lights, or the area lights, that were placed slightly in front of the model, and then these are what's interacting with the volume, what's interacting with the pyro. It's cheaper, or it's just quicker to render to get rid of the noise if you don't have to worry about like geometry lights refracting through tinted glass or tinted plastic. It's kind of a cheat, but figured it's a bit better. I'm just gonna lower them a little bit as well, just kind of line them up. So yeah, be good. I don't know what's going on with my scene. Some of these lights aren't showing up until I turn them on and off. And then this mesh light, just gonna have to go in and replace that. Get rid of the donut style lights. So if we look at, let me just get a browser open. Tail lights. These are just more of a light bulb style or whatever, kind of a retro or just 80s or older. So instead of the newer like round angular thing or whatever, these can just get away with more just putting a bulb or a little bit of stuff inside in the bottom of it. Just kind of a ball or a sphere or whatever. You just hide everything else. Find these toruses. I guess we could still keep it maybe with the torus, but just do something kind of like that. See. It might still be like too far inside of everything. It's a little bit clumsy to view all the stuff like this inside of Houdini. All right. Let's grab them, and I think we can do it with this one. Let me see if I can just template. All right. Yeah, so they're going through the backs, or they have some issues. Might actually be better just to redo it. I don't know. Anyone has any advice on this tedious stuff? I'm just gonna go through this network here. We're taking the model and just chopping it up, doing the similar cuts and splits and stuff like that. So these are all the mirror lamps. I think I can just reference this null right here and fetch it or grab it over here. All right. So we're gonna want this center point, this center point, and maybe like this one is close enough. Do the same thing over on the other side. And isolate them. I might just maybe circumvent that other stuff for right now. I already have these positions lined up pretty well, so I don't want to tamper with them too much. So I'm just gonna update the actual light geometry, like the mesh light stuff. I think I could just copy the points. The spheres, way too big. Just use polygonal geometry for redshift. And I think updating it with that. Let's take a look. this vehicle is updating. All right. Might just restart this scene. Seems like a little bit buggy, or maybe I've had it open too long. I'm just gonna save it. New file, and just go back to it. All right. I feel like especially with the Redshift plugin, new splash screen every day. I updated it again recently. I don't know what was going on. Like the one I switched to before was just a super big image. It was like, it just felt a little too funky. It was like a little scuffed to have like a splash screen that was taking up like your entire window. It was also just like a super low resolution JPEG or whatever, so I just figured it was more professional, a little bit more clean or whatever. All right, we have the new file. Let's just take a look here. All right, so I think over here I just wanted to transform into this object. So that just makes sure to apply the transform. Oh, how these are getting flipped around 180 degrees. I know that there was a discrepancy. So yeah, at the bottom here, there's this transform that I had to apply just to match the old positioning and the old scale of the car. So I think over here I can just paste that same transform. Let's take a look. Oof. Uh-oh. Oh no. This is order of transforms issue. Gonna have to do something over here. Gonna have to apply it. Basically, I want to apply this operation before the object level scaling and transforms happens. So I'm gonna make another chain here with that, then make another null to reference it. And then this one I'll just call it out lamp locations. All right. Sorry about this tedious stuff. Hopefully I get it sorted out with that change. I'm just gonna break down the lighting setup. Take a look at, there's some possibilities to just get a little bit of better kind of production value or looks out of the lights. I think overall, like the vehicle might be a little bit too bright now. I had switched this lamp locations. All right. Yeah, I switched the main kind of key light or rim light or whatever to be like on the top of the vehicle. Let me just get this. You guys know what I'm talking about. So like the main spec hits kind of rimmed or just hitting the top of it. But I think even now some of these areas of the body could get a little bit darker. Umair, how's it going? Good to see you again. I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully wrapping this this thing up today. Then this original first stream was 725. Now it's almost 9. It's like 2 months. All right. So now our taillight stuff is pretty well lined up. And just make sure with these. Go back into smooth shaded. Like they're good. I don't know what's going on now, they're a bit lower. Maybe I didn't need to do that. Seems good. All right. Finally. Yeah, it'll be nice to hopefully, it'll probably take a day or two to render high quality. You can see here these frames were taking like around 50 seconds or 48 seconds per frame. But it is kind of half resolution of like, I guess 1080, 1920 by 1080. I did half resolution of that. And then there's still like a good amount of noise. So I'm thinking maybe like the HD or like a good quality render of it would be 10 or 20 minutes a frame or something like that. But just to save time or whatever to get quick previews. Alright, so this is frame 112. I'm just gonna go to the same one. Try to get the taillight stuff looking a bit better. Is this frame 112? What the hell is going on? Oh, I think I see what happened. Right? Let me turn on the smoke. Does camera move? I've been cursed. Let's see what this redshift looks like. I think it's matching up now. Oof. I have an issue with the taillights now. You turn off the mesh lights. I think that first step is what's expected. Okay, so I just broke this link. I think I forgot to add that. File path. Maybe need to reboot. It does look like the outside lights are a bit, they have the orange tint or whatever. I think they're working. Can boost the mesh light shape a little bit. So these lights here is kind of like the same idea as a constant shader with my object masking and stuff like that. Which brand headphone do I have? I think it's like a Sony. It's just a super bad Sony. This is like a $20 pair of headphones or whatever. They're comfortable. I mean, they're not super good audio quality. I just use it when I'm working on this thing or whatever. I have the Apple AirPods that I use quite a bit as well, but they just don't work as well. Like Bluetooth, it's just too much stuff going on with OBS and all that at once. But yeah, these, I don't know, I've just had them for a long time. It might be like ZX, maybe. Look at that price, $10. Cannot beat that. But yeah, if you're interested, you get a cheap pair of headphones. Planning on doing more tutorials. Love the grain one so much. Thanks for all these amazing tips. Yeah, I'm just a bit behind working on, got busy working on a ton of stuff. But yeah, the long form tutorials I'm planning to keep doing. I might even try to add some that are like quick tips, like a 10-minute one or something. So one idea I had was just doing like a 5-minute or 10-minute tutorial that's just talking about one single node or one single SOP. Looks a bit better with some of the orange in there. But yeah, I don't know, that might be more like digestible or just also a good thing to be adding as well. So I'd have some like hour-long tutorials and then some that are just dialing in like a quick tip or a quick reference about a single node. All right. Do you see the version of the Sandman on Reddit someone did? They tracked video and had the Sandman do a cartwheel. I don't think I saw that. I've seen some other ones. Someone did like a hand coming out of... Oh, he gave me credit? I don't think I never even saw it. I'll have to search for it. It was just the Houdini Reddit. Yeah, I don't think I ever saw it. All right. So I think the headlights. All right, I think I realized what was going on here. I guess the frames got jumbled because I was starting at a different frame. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way that these headlights are looking. I did a similar thing to do those headlights, but I just did discs, like disc area lights here. And then those are parented to the same like coordinates or the locations and all that stuff. And I did end up just putting those like right behind the glass and letting them kind of shine through it or whatever. Could do maybe just grab one of these extra cameras, take a look at what it looks like. Whoa. Boom. It might just be this the post effects on this specific camera. All right. But yeah, it's not, I guess up close it's not super good. But from a distance with the smoke and the lens flare and everything, it looked pretty cool. Oh wow. It was really cool to use the motion captured 3D tracking or whatever. He did a really good job integrating, like, it's pretty difficult to match shadows and stuff like that. Usually I've tried this before and I've gotten like really harsh shadows and stuff like that. But yeah, this is amazing. Yeah, I like that little piece at the end. It's like still settling, still crumbling a little bit. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I would have missed it. Yeah, and then these lights down here, I just didn't bother with them. I just figured it was all right to leave them turned off or switched off or whatever for right now. I don't know if I'm assuming like one of them is more floodlights or fog lights or something like that. I just figured it was just gonna be too many lights or too distracting or whatever with all of them. All right, we go back to the shot camera number 5. Mantra specific tutorials in the future. It's possible. I mean, Mantra is kind of being depreciated right now with Karma being, I think, more actively developed and stuff. So the majority of my lights here are just these 3 lights. I could turn them off. The one other thing I did was use this HDRI. If I turn that off, and you can see we just have the vehicle lights. So this one I was playing around. This is probably what's contributing to just everything looking a bit flat on the vehicle right now. I was trying to use it just to get a bit of kind of ambient highlights and reflections and stuff like that. But yeah, Mantra tutorials, I mean, it'd be cool to do things for like texture baking, or you can do some really fun stuff with like point clouds and things like that. I've talked about it a little bit like a couple months ago with volumetric rendering, but for the most part, I think, I don't know, doing like hard surface rendering or some things like that, Mantra is just a bit too slow especially for like, you don't have access to a render farm or anything like that. And then just their shaders, like the principled shader, the princess castle. I'm not a big fan of that one. So this one I'm using like a studio light. Maybe try switching to, I think I had a night environment light. Try switching to that one. Redshift shows you materials in the viewport. I don't think any of the shaders or any of the materials in Houdini do a great job of doing that. You might get basic stuff of like color or specular response. I tend to ignore it and just not really waste time trying to get things to match that well. Eventually they're moving over to the stage view, and then you'll get like a basically renderer for your viewport, and you can work a lot more quickly. Adding some overall volume noise fog. That's could be added for some polish. Yeah, I did briefly set that up, but I think I had turned it off for right now. I think it's still on, but it might just not be dialed in that much. But yeah, I was trying to break up. It's super difficult to dial it in, I think, just because it's like so dependent on the lighting, and as the headlights and stuff like that move around every frame, you can, on a single frame, you can think you're getting like really nice results, and then like in 3D, if you move the camera, your fog noise is like really crunched. But that's something that could be really cool. This fog right now is kind of flat. It's a bit boring. I switched over to this night light. I don't know. Let's try rotating it. Huron, good to see you. You disappeared and then came back for the end of this, right? All right. So I think that might be a bit more interesting. You always play around with this gamma to try to just get more like contrast out of it. Might be a bit too like burned out. For whatever reason, the redshift gamma like has the effect of increasing the overall intensity. You kind of have to keep balancing, bringing it down every time you turn up that gamma. This gamma is kind of different from like the M plate gamma. So as these values here get higher, your kind of dynamic range flattens out. This gamma works differently, where like lower numbers will flatten out the HDRI or whatever. So like, just have to keep compensating. You can see it's flattened out the values, the range or whatever in the HDRI with that. Sidetrack to do pipeline stuff. Yeah, we all get busy. It's understandable. Nobody's held to an absentee attendance. All right. Just feeling a little interesting with it. All right. Could turn these other lights back on and see what happens. I think it's a bit better now, just getting rid of too much kind of ambient light in that area. Might even really go lower with that environment light. So what I've done, I have the main highlight here at the top. This grid or area light that was also giving me some nice specular highlights or whatever at the middle of the pavement and stuff like that. No, yeah, I'm still not working with ASIS. I'm just doing the photographic exposure stuff for tone mapping. Oops. All right. Just this stuff here. So this grid light is giving me a nice rim or highlights along the top of things. Could turn it off and see the difference. I thought it was really nice up here, just illuminating the foreground a little bit. And then I have some lights on either side. I did end up turning these down quite a bit, but like this originally was doing some highlights on the shoulder of the vehicle or the curve or whatever. But I don't know, I kind of ended up thinking that they were just a bit too maybe distracting, especially when you start to increase the volume contribution of it. I don't know, it just seemed to kind of distract from where I wanted your eye to look or whatever the whole time. I turned it down a fair amount to still get some interaction or specular like kicks as the vehicle spins around, but I think I didn't want it to be like the primary highlight or the hottest light in the scene. And then this other one is going in from the right side, screen right. I think again I turned this one down quite a bit, but I also made it a bit kind of magenta or cyberpunk colorish. But again, I kind of like the vignetting that was happening, where like the edges of the screen fade to almost black or darkness or whatever. That's why I ended up making this one a bit lower, everything like that. We could go to a later frame, take a look with more smoke. I found it to be a lot easier to work with. Some wet areas, yeah, it could be cool to see some highlights and stuff. I don't know how well it will show up if it's like super small droplets, like it's almost sub pixel. I think you could do it with a procedural noise, maybe, because it's like such a small screen space area. But yeah, it could be cool to add some. You could do it just by like the height maybe or something. Another coat or another layer of like specular. So yeah, I think that this light here is still too bright. Just wanted like a hint of that. No. I think this light as well is, I've made it a bit brighter. I kind of liked how everything was going to pretty dark or close to black. Oh man, this is the one that I just turned off. All right. Then we'll take a look at this volume shader. Oh wow, it's a big, it's a monster link. Yeah, it could be cool to dirty it up a little bit, add some yeah, I guess it might just be like overall diffuse color changing. Just because I think that it's just always the problem with like automotive shaders or whatever. Like it just starts with too clean or too fresh, too untouched. But yeah, with the smoke, the volumetrics, I did end up kind of increasing the shadows or like the absorption quite high. So just the overall like thickness of it or the opacity. And then I think that this shadow density scale I jacked up quite high as well. It was just just add more contrast and more darks or whatever to it. So if you take a look without that, it's kind of like the problem I was having originally where everything was feeling pretty flat. So just increase this density up pretty high. I don't know, felt that looked like a little bit more cinematic or whatever. No, it's okay. It's yeah, I know it's overall it does feel very toyish, very makes it feel pretty fake. But yeah, I appreciate comments and suggestions and everything. So yeah, and then this scatter coefficient, maybe it ended a bit too high or too bright. This is just like the overall highlights or specular kind of response of things. But yeah, I think this is a bit better now with just less kind of ambient lighting or whatever on the vehicle. You can take a look even without this dome light. The other thing I was playing around with was just eliminating the diffuse contribution of that environment light. So it's basically just showing up in reflections. Maybe that is like a better way to go. So the idea is like you just get some little glints of specular highlights. I think that's another thing that's making everything feel a bit toyish, is just that there's nothing really for like it's just a big area light or grid that's doing a reflection or a specular highlight, but getting some little pops or glimmers or whatever you want to call it, like just makes it feel a bit more real. And like this, you're never really going to have a vehicle that's in complete darkness in a parking lot or whatever environment we're saying that this is. All right, let's take a look at a different frame. So yeah, I think just burying some stuff into the kind of cool to see it coming in and out of shadow or whatever. So I think with the ambient lights and stuff like that dialed back, it's definitely a bit more interesting. Just more real, I guess, is like it doesn't make sense for this cement to be so dark and then this to be illuminated. Doesn't work well with volumes or something. Yeah, so this HDRI, I mean, in general with Redshift, the like it will always light up your fog and everything like that. So if I turn the environment light on for everything, this is how it looks. So it's lighting up the fog, it's showing up through the background. Even though I have the visibility of the HDRI light turned off, it might be possible to like exclude your environment light, like the volumetric scattering. Get something like that, but I just found it was like too hard to control for volumes because it's showing up everywhere. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing with this HDRI. Just no volume contribution, and then I think also reducing the diffuse contribution of things. It's like making maybe just the vehicle a bit too bright with a high diffuse contribution. Yeah, I don't know. I think it depends on the environment and stuff like that. So with like pyroclastic or thicker, cloudy or smoke, sometimes having an environment light turned on can help because it will like give you some self-shadowing, or like it's kind of like an ambient occlusion type of effect with the clouds. But for this smoke or this like thinner, wispier stuff, I think it just made more sense to dial in it with area lights or whatever. Let me see if I can get this. I'm just increasing the this light right here, shining kind of right at the camera. It was like the main rim light or whatever. I think it's a bit better with it brighter. Having those off, it's still applying to specular, so it should still show up in the reflections. I've also gone into the objects here and turned it off for the environment. I could turn it back on. It just seemed like it was, increase it, starting to fill out like the environment too much in terms of like an ambient light or whatever. So that's why I had excluded it and only have it lighting up, only applying to the vehicle. Whoops. turn this vehicle back. Yeah, so that was my idea for it. It's just very subtle. Like it only is kind of like a coat layer of reflections on the vehicle. But yeah, that, I don't know, just with a nighttime scene, I don't think it's super important, but nice to have some stuff happening instead of just like things maybe get too smooth or whatever otherwise. So I might make this grid light here a little smaller. I don't know if it's just a bit weird how it's catching that puddle like that. Maybe move it down, really have like a vignette situation happening. Could be a better idea with that. Let's try another frame, take a look. So this is my, I don't know why it's not possible inside point VOP to distort gradient by noise. What gradient do you have? I'm not sure. Sometimes my area lights aren't showing up super well. But this is a grid light that's kind of meant to highlight or reflect the shoulder of things. By moving it a bit closer. Sometimes as well, just solo this other stuff. Like a color attribute transfer. I mean, you can do it I do it quite often. If you can't do it inside of the point VOP, sometimes what I do is the like rest position and then adding noise to the actual point attribute, like outside of the VOP. That was like a trick or a technique or whatever that I was doing pretty often, just for breaking up other like effects of the vellum tearing, Voronoi fracture and stuff like that. You can break it up that way. So yeah, if you're using the attribute transfer, like you wouldn't have access to the noises in VOPs. So that's why I was saying you could do it that way. Let me take a, I don't know what this light is doing. So yeah, at certain times I was starting to get this kind of interesting highlights and stuff like that, but I just kept ending up like backing down on it because I was just thinking like overall it's a bit too, this is definitely looking better than it was earlier. But when it was overpowering everything and it was like the dominant light, it just kind of making like other segments of time were looking too boring because this light would only hit the vehicle, pick that specular shoulder or whatever at certain times. Pretty thin and long. Yeah, I have this grid light is is like a strip or something like that, but just as it rotates, it was only splashing or kicking around or whatever for a second. Most of the lights in my scene I have like that. I don't know why it's not showing up in the 3D view redshift stuff. But yeah, with this area size, you can see it's the Houdini viewport, but also with the Redshift plugin, like going to a third-party thing is a bit buggy as well. But yeah, about your gradient question. So like if you have this grid, color, maybe something, you do the attribute transfer. Just go with red. To just add noise to break it up in general. You could either do it with a point bop, or you could do it with kind of any noise, even the attribute noise. I use that quite frequently, just because it's super accessible or whatever. So if you just do attribute noise, can add noise, 3D noise to the point position like that. Usually I do center noise, and I don't know how much you want to add or whatever. So what I was talking about, the trick with the rest position is before you add noise, you just capture or you make a copy of the rest, the current position attribute. And then if you do the swap afterwards, you can revert back to your original position. So you're kind of imprinting or distorting the space that the transfer is happening in. You can play around with the element size and stuff like that to get different distortions or patterns or whatever. And then if you do this with the blend, it will be more like a gradient. So that's what I would generally cite to break up the noise. You can do the same thing in a point bop or all-in-one bop or whatever. Neat as hell. Yeah, so I'm trying to get back out of this vehicle to get into some more interesting, been missing doing the backs and bops and stuff like that a little bit. But yeah, you can do the same idea with this bop. So instead of attribute transfer, you can do, I think it's point cloud open. Whoops. So this file is like the node input. The point position is the search point or like the transfer. And then point cloud filter will give you the attribute you want to retrieve from the geometry. You can adjust the radius and stuff here. I think I might, if you want to consider like both of the geometries, you could merge them together. Maybe that doesn't like override it or whatever. But you can also do this. Is it point cloud farthest? All right, I could just find this point position of the sphere that it's finding, and then if you do like the distance between the two of them, I don't know, this point cloud filter might be causing some issues. But basically you just can use that to mix between colors. Let me see if it works. I don't know how well it's working, but the idea is you can do the same thing with this point cloud open or any kind of attribute transferring inside of here. If you do another anti-alias noise, you do just add it to the position before you do your point cloud search or lookup or whatever. You kind of see what's happening with it. I think I haven't done this point cloud filter in a while. I'm messing it up. But it's the same theory or whatever. Basically, you're only adding noise at the time that you do the transfer or the lookup. So you get the distorted. You're basically doing the transfer in a distorted noise space and then reverting back to your original one. You do it inside of a VOP. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we're just looking at it like this. You get a similar idea or thing happens. Maybe just do, I don't know, near point. I don't know. I'm gonna abandon that for right now. But yeah, this is the idea, is you just add noise before you do the lookup or whatever. So I was lowering this one light, kind of the glancing angle or whatever. I don't know what to do about this puddle though to get better reflections for it. Excellent approach. Thank you. Like if I was lifting this light higher, starting to get some more reflections and things in the puddle. I think some of it depends on where the vehicle is. Like as it pulls up, you'll see the side of it in the reflection of the pond or the puddles or whatever. Like this frame here, you can see it. Yeah, this is... It still feels, yeah, I could add another light. Maybe I would want to add like a texture or something to it. Just so it isn't, like otherwise you just see a grid in the back of it. And it just looks kind of odd, I guess. Just might have moved this light too low or something. Ah, I turned it off for a second. Sorry about that. So yeah, like when I had this light perfectly in the reflection, you just see a grid and it looks a little bit boring. Like this is a little bit more interesting, but I guess I could do another light and then I have like a texture applied to like a gobo or whatever. You could try doing that and see what happens. Just make this a bit higher. I think we need to Just angle it properly. Make it bigger. We go into the world view. Something's a bit buggy with this. Redshift render view likes to jump around, even though you're inside and outside of other channels and things like that. All right. So yeah, this should start showing up in the ground at a certain point, right? All right. So you get the grid showing up like that, and then it just kind of looks like daylight or something. I don't know what you would expect to see. Oops, not that. Could just look for like night neon. That was my idea with like the gas station or whatever, is that it kind of would give you some of this stuff, but then I got too lazy. Gave up on the idea a little bit. Octane feels better. I haven't used Octane too much. I kind of just took the plunge with Redshift. I think both, like just GPU getting really quick rendering results or whatever is, I don't know. I think a lot of it is just the like the feedback a renderer gives you. At the end, both are kind of performing the same maths and similar equations or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I know the displacement in Octane, I have seen some really good kind of results and things like that with it. So yeah, let me look at sky, night. Path tracing versus ray tracing, I believe. I don't know about that. I think they're both doing pretty similar ways that they're tracing. This could be something kind of cool. I don't know about this ray tracing versus path tracing. I think this is you're falling into a trap of some branding and stuff like that. I think that they're both fundamentally doing the same equations. I'm just gonna grab this texture. Layer 2, thank you. Yes, thank you for the model so much. It's definitely looking better. I'm trying to go in now and just add some highlights and stuff like that in the puddle to make things looking a little bit better. So yeah, I took this picture right here. I'm just gonna assign it to the grid to see what happens if it shows up in the puddle. Grab the file path. So this light, just to use texture, slam it in. I think the intensity of it is pretty low. go up higher. Now you could hopefully see that there's some stuff going on. I don't know if I need to reposition some things. But yeah, I could maybe do it without the out of the box lighting in Octane looks better than Redshift. Yeah, I don't know about attributing too much, I don't know, to this stuff. It's easy to fall into like marketing things that people saying like physically plausible and stuff like that. I'm not going to speak too much about it because it gets into tricky territory and stuff like that. But basically, I'm just saying is fundamentally you should be able to get very similar looks between the two of them. Just switching from one to the other, I don't think would change. I mean, it will change the results because you'll be using a different engine, but I don't think that one gives you necessarily like better results in general over the other. Not discuss render engines. Yeah, I don't know. To me, all renderers have a bit of magic, like something special that you get from it. But at the end of the day, it's just a tool. It's just like a 3D mesh. Like it's pretty honest in terms of the results. So I might just make this grid a bit bigger, like super big now. I'm using the texture. I'm gonna turn off. Oops, I didn't mean to turn that stuff off. I'm gonna turn off the vehicle and the smoke. I just want to make sure I'm not seeing the reflection of the vehicle inside of that puddle. Looks like you see it right there. It's gonna be too low. See it right there. Something like this. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be too realistic. It's just something show up or something you see. You can just like on set and stuff like that, you might see people putting gels and cards and stuff like that in front of lights just to make them look more interesting. I think it's already like, it's going to be super abstracted. It's not super important what it looks like. Tokyo Megaplex, good to see you. How's it going? Trying to put this project to rest somewhat. Is how it's somewhat how it's looking. I'm trying to make the lighting a little bit better. So I'm getting to catch one of these in a while. Yeah, it's been it's getting a bit fancier, but yeah, I think like 2 months into this, just hitting it here and there. But yeah, it's been looking pretty good. Was checking out the glass stuff you did for Cut Copy like a month ago or something. Everyone's losing track of time and days. But yeah, I really like the dispersion and the chromatic kind of look in that shattering. Takeshi Murata. Yeah, I was looking at the album debut for Cut Copy. There was just the different visuals and stuff. It was really cool. All right. So I can just make this a bigger light. Okay. Looks like it's still super small. So you were both doing Houdini stuff for it, or were you someone was doing like more technical stuff? Finally started getting into Houdini. Been working with them all year. Zootrope. That's too bad the gallery presentation got canceled. He's more of a real-time, like installation-based artist? I always get jealous, like I never get to work on those, anything that's like not a ton of traditional film stuff or whatever. There's a lot of fine arts stuff. All right, something like that. I think just, I don't know, because I have some animation happening on this. Where did it go? There is like the noise I animated, so just seeing some extra lights and stuff, so it's not completely black. Could be cool. Like super bright. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Fancy. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know if you want to venture into too deep into the archives. Alright, I think I can turn the vehicle and stuff back on. So yeah, I think just having that light with the texture in it, that's what makes it good. Biased is based. You have a biased based, biased boosted image. It's like a deep fried render result. Like base boosted, but for the result. Yes, I think it's a little interesting. It's the most based render. Let's just try another frame and see what it looks like. Yeah, it's starting to come together. Thank you. Just been going through, this was where things were earlier today. I've been trying to dial in, like getting the blacks a bit darker on the vehicle, some stuff like that. The flares. This is a redshift post effects. It's extra based. I haven't tried out Embergen yet. I've been looking into it a little bit. It's kind of tied in with, I'm trying to get like a different streaming computer or whatever, but basically with Linux right now, I don't think you can run Embergen. I don't know, I haven't tried it with like Wine or any emulators or whatever. Been too scared to attempt that. But I need to get a Windows thing situated just for other softwares as well that are like Windows only. Don't want to set it up. Yeah, I mean, it's nice because it's cheap, but it isn't like one tiny thing can go wrong and you can just get fucked for like a week or whatever, because you're like, it's super easy. Like even for me, it gets beyond my technical capabilities of like, you don't want to mess around with drivers, and it just you, whatever software you go, whatever operating system you go with, there's going to be something, some demon you have to deal with, whether it's the Windows update, limitations of Windows and that kind of stuff, like the OS X, like NVIDIA, AMD battles and that stuff, or Linux messiness. Not allowed to run Linux-based systems at university. Yeah, I don't know if this... There's like this shoulder light that I've been pushing around. Hitting the side of everything. I've been going back and forth on like... Seems to be just flattening stuff out a little bit too much. I'm using a ramp for it. I could try I'm just taking the ramp at like messing around with the gradient of that light. So basically this isn't the light, but from the top to the bottom this gradient is adjusting it, so you can see it's closer to like a sliver or something like that now. Just dual booted to Linux. It's pretty cool, not doing high-end stuff anyways. Yeah, I mean, it depends a lot on the type of work you're doing and things like that. I think for like a dedicated effects artist, Linux makes a ton of sense. Especially for doing like automating scripts and using the shell. Like that's one of the big reasons I like to stick to it. Like you're able to look at your Houdini processes when they were launched, which one, if you open it with like the file path as an argument, then when you go to kill a Houdini session that's hung or frozen, it will save a crash file. Like with Windows, I've never been able to be able to do that with the task manager. Like it's just harder to get crash files to be saved. Looking at the GPU usage, like there's just little things like that that I'll miss. I do NVIDIA SMI. You'd see the GPUs and like percentages, especially for Pyro, like OpenCL sims. Houdini has a shell, like, yeah, I mean, you can run Unix kind of commands and stuff inside of Houdini, and with tops, it makes it pretty good. But for even doing stuff on top of that, like you can run like little render scripts or stuff that will open a Houdini session in Linux and get wild with it. I think for a generalist, like especially if you need to use Adobe products, you're kind of screwed on that sense with Linux. So that's why I say, like, if you're doing more generalist based stuff, you either just need dual booting or multiple workstations, or you just need to convert fully to open source video editing software, and you're in another mess kind of with that. Shell stuff at Framestore. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, for me with Linux, like it's getting easier and easier in terms of setting it up. Just less issues and weird problems and stuff that you'll run into, but it's definitely just the biggest limitation is other proprietary software not supporting it. So being like with me not being able to run Embergen, but for the most part with the USB stick or disk, you can download. I'm using Linux Mint or Ubuntu. Both of those should be pretty good to go in terms of just putting it in and hitting install. And it does a really good job of just like sorting out the drivers and all that stuff. I'm just trying to get this light a little bit more interesting. The shoulder light. Yeah, I don't know with Embergen. I mean, it seems like a really nice idea in terms of getting like quick feedback and quick sims and stuff like that, but I just haven't been able to test it. Yeah, I don't know, maybe just having this light stuff. I want to detract. I felt like I was fighting too much with the main rim, like overhead light. The other thing is the Axiom, the GPU fluid solvers should be pretty cool inside of Houdini because it's like sparse. You should be able to get pretty detailed results out of it. Been thinking about doing a stream. I need to spend some more time messing around with it or whatever, but it could be cool to do a stream with the Axiom. Is independently developed. I think his name is Matt. Forget how to pronounce his last name. I'm not going to attempt it right now, but super talented ability to develop like C++ or the HDK plugins, especially working with GPUs. Like I can't even begin to imagine how much skills and stuff. You could search for it. You should be able to see it. It's just a O instead of a U. AXIOM. It's like a node, like a SOP or a plugin for Houdini. Will let you run like fluid sims using your GPU, but you're able to do sparse simulations. So it should be quicker and more optimized than the built-in Pyro solver with Houdini. But yeah, I think that, I don't know, this is to me looking the best in terms of lighting, like having it just vignetted like this pretty heavily. Go. This is my texture. Puddles reflect. Might take a look at this texture and just try doing the gamma stuff to crunch it down. So that you're just getting rid of the like bright areas in it. So it's like just extracting only the highlights or only the little hits and glints from it. There's like a broad sky color or something like that that seemed to be popping out of it. So if I really turn it up, you'd see. I'm just trying to get rid of this like ambient spill color or whatever. But yeah, the Axiom stuff is interesting. The only issue is like if you use it a ton and you're sharing files with like a bigger team, if other people on the team don't know how to use it, or could run into some issues and stuff like that. It's generally why I try to stay away from the third-party stuff. It was like 5 years ago or something. someone was making a bullet solver inside of Houdini that was before packed primitives and everything like that was fully implemented. They kind of did it themselves. But like, if you tried to go back and use one of those really old files, you'd have to look around for like your plugin versions, and like could get into a big mess trying to restore or start with one of those working files. So in general, that's why I try to stay like first party or just working with the side effects tools as much as I can. Just trying a different frame, take a look, see what happens. Need to get the flares working again. I don't know if I reduced the overall like f-stop. That had kind of knocked back like the chromatic stuff. Take a look. Blinding you like a demon. Alright, I just speak to you are back on this infamous project. Yeah, I think this is the last, hopefully the last kind of working session for it. I did some tests earlier today. It was just these like minute renders at half resolution. But I've just been going in now and trying to really polish the lighting. Make some subtle tweaks and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I'm gonna do like a high quality render later, and kind of wrap this up for the time being. I talked a little bit about the possibility of doing a consolidated like review, post-mortem, whatever you want to call it. Just extracting, like consolidating it down into a one or 2 hour review could be useful, because it's like so much of this stuff was just figured out on the fly or like through trial and error. So consolidating like the path could be useful. 3090. Did you order a 3090? Did they just come out? They're doing like the staggered release of doing 3080 earlier this week, or I guess last week now. 3090 and then 3070 in a few days. $3080 launch was a fiasco. Yeah, I think all the launches are going to be fiascos, just because there's so much like 3090s in 3 weeks. Yeah, I think with all the cards NVIDIA releases, they're just not protecting enough against bots. And just even with the 2080, like before the new ones came out, people were still hoarding and playing with the prices and stuff. I don't think it's going to get solved unless they have a ton of supply to release. Yeah, there was an article, I linked to it a while back. Jeff Late is interviewed in it with the Nano VDB that runs on the GPU. It'll be interesting to see how well that works. 1080i. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for 1080i is 10 gigs or 11 gigs or something for the VRAM. Should still be pretty useful for OpenCL simulations, but for Redshift and GPU renders, it seems like the even the 3080, there was some benchmarks that came out for it, and it was like better than could be twice as good as like a 2080 maybe, or 4 times as good as a 1080. All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems like right now it's just a good time to buy if you can get your hands on one, because Nvidia is releasing like once every 2 or 3 years. So I guess if you're in a place where you're thinking about upgrading like any time in the next year, it makes sense to try to get one as soon as you can. I'm just gonna move this puddle reflector around a little bit more. Seems like I'm hitting the end of the light right there. Upgraded everything except GPU this summer, expecting a new launch. Yeah, hopefully their supply will be sorted out pretty quickly. Let's see what this looks like before the vehicle enters the frame too much. Could be kind of cool. The hype won't go down. Yeah, it's hard to know. It just seems like Nvidia just can't produce. They're just doesn't make sense. I think playing the exposure of this down a little bit, so it's just a hint of the reflections is a better idea. Yeah, I don't know. I think definitely people are going to be. I mean, you saw it on eBay. Someone was selling a 3080 for like $40,000 or something. I feel like as long as that stuff keeps happening, they're still going to get botted every release they try to do. Yeah, I don't think it's ever possible to completely eliminate the bots. Will always be running for sneakers, concert tickets, and GPUs. Hopeless. All right, I might just go to a high res render setting, see what happens, and just go to the full HD resolution. Reduce the noise threshold a little bit. Let's take a look. The brake lights, yeah, I might animate that. They should be, I think, I don't know, I need to do some research, but should be, yeah, when the car is driving, I think just the side ones or one set of them should be. Yeah, just the inner ones are the brake lights. There's the tail lights, yeah, that are just for visibility, that are a bit dimmer. But yeah, that's a bit of just polish or whatever. Middle is the indicator, outside is tail lights, and then the innermost is brake. So this is kind of flipped around. Yeah, the rims I want to change to the, I don't know if it should be matte silver. I was thinking of just like a more, it was like the black alloy kind of thing, just so there as well, like less distracting. Like this just looks a bit too plasticky, or I don't know if my specular. But I think just keeping them like a dark. I think I have the shader for it made already. It's like the black alloy or whatever. Middle is too light. Oh, okay. Let me go back to my. So the middle ones are always on. These are your turning signals, the indicator. And wait, those are wrong. People have, it's such an old car, people are just going in and customizing it and shit like that. I think this is pretty close to your model. Super hard to even find like video reference of that for an older model. This one, so I think you could kind of just make it up, like as long as there's some animation or some turning on and off of the tail lights, people will believe it. As long as you don't show it to a engineer or a manufacturer of vehicles. What do you think? I think this orange one, probably something that's always on. And I think maybe the innermost is brake lights. So I'm making a guess here. Tail light, brake light, indicator. Let's see. Oh no. Is you know the timestamp he goes into the brake business? This is what you're using for your model reference? Yeah, I can imagine this going from images and like mix and matching. Sometimes the model might not be right. He might just be talking about it. I might have to listen to this later to figure out which one is exactly the which light is doing which. I think I had 3 different references. One add custom rims. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking just in terms of the shot. Like I didn't want the other stuff to be too distracting. So in my vehicle shader, I have this black alloy metal. It's like no diffuse. Just a pretty shiny or pretty clean specular. So it's kind of just like close to like a, I don't know what you would call it, but just like black painted metal or something like that. I think I'm gonna have to do a polish pass before I do the final render of just making sure these lights are perfectly lined up, and can do that. Smoke looks heavenly. Yeah, it's getting, I don't know, there's still a bit of noise in it. But yeah, it's starting to be better. It's gotten closer to that. I think I added the color, like attenuation or whatever. I kind of pulled that idea, like there was a bit of different colors or whatever in the V-Ray reference or whatever. Starting to get to the heavenly. Technically missing the metals on the back to indicate what model it is. Take it into ZBrush. Yeah, I did notice that on. I was doing like some reference searches for shading, like coloring and stuff. I did see they had a really cool logo for the Countach on the back. Where did my web browser go? I think I closed all the extra little ones I had. But the font, like the design of it, is just a few metals or a few additions or whatever that seemed to have it, but it was pretty cool. This one has it. But yeah, for the distance that this one is, you might be able to do like a decal, like a displacement with some I don't know. Kind of like just making a height map or something. The metals. Yeah, I think a detail shot of those metals is a good idea. This specular right here is pretty cool. I think that's what makes it so hard to nail the photoreal or whatever, is just always getting like the proper distortion or whatever. This is the original 5000. But yeah, there's always like little subtle bending or something like that in the metal. It's just super hard to always get it looking the same way in CG or whatever. The orange peel, yeah, some of it's orange peel for like high frequency bumping and stuff, and then like I think there's super low kind of bending or distortion that so like this I'm thinking is orange peel, the little kind of like impressionist painting type of vibe, but then these broad scale like streaks and lines and stuff I think are from just really subtle like deformations. I mean, you could probably do it with just another bump layer, but it's just always super hard to dial in properly. Whoops. Messed up my clipboard. He got the medals. Yeah, this is really cool. Even did the fabric wrinkles with Madman. (2017) The beast. So yeah, I think overall my lighting is pretty well dialed in. For what I'm trying to do, but could definitely help it. Working on doing the animation and stuff for the tail lights. Grab a thumbnail. But yeah, I'm gonna do a quick look at the rims. Turn off the smoke. See what it looks like. Julian, thank you. Yeah, I still could try to dial in that fog breakup. It's super hard to do it in motion or like the camera and everything. I'm gonna do this region business. I might actually just go to a different. I'm gonna go to an earlier frame. You see the other side. I think that's easier to adjust the hubcaps, rims, or whatever at that time. All right. So I'm thinking going to this black alloy. Is it better? These are my rims right here. I think switching. I'm gonna go over to the black alloy. What do you think? Kind of that painted black metal or whatever. I think just overall it's more this is a yes. It's gonna be a yes for me, Chief. The other thing I wanted to add, I was thinking about it, I don't know how much, but like just some graphics or something, brands or something on the side of the tire. There's a cap, like the air filling business. So I had this one that I had pulled in online of like a Goodyear tire or something, but like adding some scuffs or something to it. I don't know, because it's just it's hard to get stuff. It's like it's too distracting if you spend too much time on it, and it's doesn't look right. Yeah, that could be useful. I did add some. Just switch this over. I did add like a little bit of a bump map, but it wasn't super good in terms of the detail and stuff like that. I think I was just doing bump instead of displace, but yeah, if you have originals that are really nicely detailed or whatever, it will definitely be helpful. Like if I was pushing these too much, it's kind of starting to break a little bit. Might be that this. I don't know. How shiny are your tires? I feel like it's higher than 0.5. Like a pretty. There's a lot of little business happening on the rubber. But yeah, I think the pattern I had here isn't super. It's just a very generic one I found online or something like that. You put them in the PMs. Thank you. Yeah, I did notice the front tires, I believe, are a little bit more slim than the back ones. All right, I think it's gonna be it for today. I have some other stuff I need to do later today. But yeah, I'm gonna try to just off stream figure out. I think there's some weird business happening on with these taillights. Looking much better. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's getting close to final or somewhere 98% or something. But yeah, the final render will probably take a good amount of time. I think 11 minutes for this 1920 by 1080. It still had some noise in the volumes. But yeah, I think it's starting to look pretty cool with the shaders and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully very close to wrapping this up. We'll look into doing maybe like a quick review. Yeah, the dissipation, I think compositionally, like stuff was just getting too, the screen was getting too full, and it was a bad way to fix it, or like bad composition idea or whatever. I don't believe I'm using automatic sampling, Jabram. Some people had said they were having some issues with it. So I'm not using it. Like, this is generally what I'm doing with redshift noise. Max samples just increase that to be high enough, and then I think if I reduced the air threshold, I could start to get rid of that. little noise. I just don't know how you could end up with like half-hour frame times or something with too much, but I've never known like really good ideas of how to dial in like super optimize. I know they have like all these overrides you can do and some of these cutoff thresholds that I've never really messed. Like I think if you really dove in, you could optimize stuff a bit more. But yeah, overall I'm just controlling most of the redshift with what I used in V-Ray. The sample rate AOV. Yeah, they have they have some debugging ones that are pretty cool. But yeah, for the most part, I think I'm just too lazy to really dial in stuff. But it could take a look at it at some point. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today, I think. Thanks again, everyone, for staying with it for 2 months of on and off work or whatever. Very close to polished and finaled. And thanks again, especially to Player 2, purveyor of fine Lamborghini models and luxury automobiles. Yeah, so we'll be back tomorrow, taking a break from this, moving on to other stuff. Hope to see some folks. I might have some. I don't know how much time I'll have to render or chip away, but maybe I'll have some more frames of this rendered by then. Yeah, take it easy. Enjoy your Saturday evening, afternoon, wherever you might be.